Hello friends, my name is Raza Masood. Today we'll discuss about a topic scope creep. Friend, this is a very important topic in project management. If you are studying project management in university or you are planning to give exam of PMP, so with respect to exam point of view, this is a very important topic, scope creep, and you will see at least 5 to 10 questions which are directly or indirectly related to scope creep concept, and you can understand that how much it is important to clear the exam of PMP or project management. You should know about the concept of scope creep. Secondly, if you are a professional project manager and working in any organization as a project manager or a scrum master or product owner, so again this is necessary for you to understand the concept of scope creep so that you can use the concept, you can avoid the mistakes related to scope creep in your projects and successfully deliver the project. So friend, let's just start. First of all, I would request to please subscribe to my channel and click on the bell option as well so that my new videos can reach to you. So let's just start. Scope creep. First of all, see friend, a scope creep, this is a topic which is directly related to project management, and we have taken this topic from the PMBOK guide, project management body of knowledge. So first of all, we have to understand that what is project actually, then we can move forward. Friend, as per the definition of PMBOK, project is a temporary thing which has a beginning and ending point, and it gives you a unique output, product, service or result. That is called as project. For example, if you are building a house, so it's a project. If you are building a flyover, it's a project. If you are implementing an e-commerce solution, so it's a project. You are introducing a new business process in an organization, so it's a project. You are implementing mobile application for a customer, so it's a project. So two ingredients are very important in every project. One is temporary and second is unique. So every project is temporary means after some time it will finish, and unique means that it is unique, like every project is unique, like every project we are implementing it on the first time. No project can be an ongoing, or no project can be a like ongoing project, or it cannot be non-uniqueness. Every project is always temporary and unique. Now if you can understand the concept of project, we can now talk about scope first, because see there are two terms, scope, creep. So what is actually a scope in project management terms? Friend, scope is we are talking about the things which we have to deliver to a customer, that is called as scope. So basically when we talk about project scope, basically we are talking about the things which we are going to deliver to customer. For example, take the same example of e-commerce solution. Like customer says that he want that the users can browse the categories, product categories in the e-commerce solution, okay, and also he want the user can do the payment through credit card. So these two requirements will become the scope of project. Scope means the boundary of the deliverables. Okay, remember friend one thing, why scope is very important in any project, because first of all, scope defines the things which we have to deliver to customer. Second, it defines the boundary as well, because we cannot go beyond that boundary. Okay, for example, just take the same example here. Your customer says that he want only two requirements. First, users can browse the categories of products in e-commerce solution, and they can do the payments through the credit card. These are the two requirements, and the scope signed off. Now after 1 month, he came to you, the customer came to you, and he was saying that customer can do the payment through debit card as well. So he wants to include this requirement in the scope. Now friends, see, as per the signed scope of work, there were only two requirements, and this requirement will be considered as a new requirement or change request. So that is called as the concept of scope and the new requirement. Now if you can understand the concept of scope, what is a scope? Scope is the things which we have to deliver to a customer, okay, and it defines the boundary of the deliverables. Now scope creep, what is scope creep friend? Actually, scope creep means that friend, known as requirement creep or even features creep as well, refers to how a project requirement tend to increase over project life cycle. What once started as a single deliverable becomes 5, Scope creep means, friend, that sometimes it happens that the things which are not part of the scope of work, they are included into the project scope. Like for example, just give me let me give you an example here. Initially there were two requirements only. When the project lifecycle starts, project execution starts, one more requirement has been added into the scope, and it was not part of the scope. However, it tends to be it's included into the scope of work. And what are the disadvantages of the scope creep is that what happens that the things, the work which should have to be completed in 1 week, it was not completed after passing 1 month. Why? Because due to scope creep, like addition of requirements without any permissions, without any approvals. The customer is adding the scope, and the management, the developers are adding the scope, adding the requirements in the scope. However, it was not part of the scope of work, or it was not part of the saw means the scope of work actually. So that is called as scope creep. Scope creep means, friend, that addition of requirements which are not part of the scope of work, adding scope without any permission, without any approvals, and adding a scope which was not part of the scope of work. Now, friend, we have to, first of all, we have to understand why it happens actually, how it can happen. See, friend, here whenever we don't have any such strict controls on the project management and the scope of work. What happens that when we are building the projects, when we are implementing the projects, like sometime just to make happy the customer, and we add new requirements into the scope of work, just we want that customer should be happy, and the impact is that customer is still unhappy, and we are facing very tough time. The development team still face lots of tough time. Why? Because see, just to make them happy, just to make customer happy, we added one more requirement. However, it was not part of a scope of work, and his customer is still unhappy because the things are not delivered on time, and scope creep, and the project gets failed. So the reason of project failure, one of the reason is scope creep as well. So now, friend, how to manage the project scope? Friend, the main strategy to manage the project scope, first of all, we should have a defined scope of work. Like whenever we receive any new requirement, first of all, the scope of work should be clearly defined, documented, and signed off by the customer, especially from the customer. Why? Because it should be properly documented. It should be in the knowledge of the project management and the customer, that what we are going to deliver. Now, friend, whenever we receive any new requirement, it should be tallied. It should be the scope of work should be reviewed. If it is the part of a scope of work, we should have to include it. If it is not part of the scope of work, we should have to decline it. Many times it happens, my friend, the why project scope creep occur. The main reason is that sometimes the development team or sometimes other stakeholder think that just to make the customer happy, we can include few things. Sometimes other things happen as well. Like for example, sometimes development team thinks that if we add one more functionality, so that the functionality of the product will increase, and we can deliver a very good product to customer. However, the functionality which they are going to added, it is not part of the scope of work. So it is another type of scope creep as well. And the first thing which I was talking about, addition of new requirement just to make the customer happy, it is an example of gold plating. That is called as gold plating. So now, friend, remember, friend, one thing. First of all, how to manage project scope. The scope document should be clearly defined, documented, and signed off from the customer, first thing. And then whenever new requirement came, just to review the scope document. If the requirement is part of a scope of work, signed scope of work, we should have to deliver it, we have to agree it. If it is not part of the scope of work, then it will be considered as new requirement and change request. If customer still says that he want to include the new requirement in the project scope, then we will have to analyze the cost, time required for that new requirement, and it will be submitted to customer as a change request. If customer agreed, signed off the change request, then we can make it as a part of scope of work. So friend, thank you, thanks a lot for your time, and that's all from my side. I hope you like this video. If you like, please share it with a friend and colleague, and thank you, thanks a lot for your time.